All right. Know the Game podcast, episode 7. Uh, we are rolling it on Thursday night football. I didn't get a chance to do it on Tuesday with my co-host being out in Philly this week, but we've finally got him back in the state. And yeah, we're just going to dive into last week's matchups. So to kick things off, actually, before we talk about last week's matchups, I think this was a request of Brules and Jonas. But I'm also wanting to entertain it. So we've got the Jags and the Saints playing in about, 30 minutes, Jeff? 35 minutes?
Yeah, I think 7:15 is the kick time for that one. Yeah, 30 minutes.
Yeah. So 30 minutes, you got the New Orleans Saints playing at home. I did some digging before we started tonight. So the Jags definitely are the underdog going into this matchup. The Saints have never lost this matchup at home. So I think the Saints historically have the edge in this particular matchup. But, for me, I actually like Jacksonville going into this game. As we mentioned right before the show started, Trevor Lawrence is active tonight, so he will be playing, which gives them a much better chance at competing and winning in this game. You've got a spread 2.5, and the over/under sitting at 40.5. So, what are your thoughts?
I don't know. So yesterday, of course, before we found out that Trevor was going to be active, it was just at 1. Now it's 2.5, and I don't know about you, but to me, the Saints' offense has just not been able to produce points. And I think Jacksonville's defense is stingy at times. I could see this going under 40, and I hate to admit that, but because I'm an over guy, but I could see it being under 40.
Well, I think specifically against the Saints, like they don't really put up a ton of points unless you're playing a really horrible New England team and they shut them out 34-0. But looking at the Saints' last 5 matchups, they've mostly, I think every one of them have been under 40 points. And Houston, 20-13. Against New England, 34-0. Against Tampa Bay, 26-9. Against Green Bay, 18-17. Carolina, 20-17. So they haven't even touched the 40-point mark as far as that's concerned this year at all.
So that sets it up perfectly for it to finally go for 40 tonight.
Yeah, potentially. So we've got a couple of buddies on our show tonight. So Brules and Connor, what do y'all think? How do y'all feel about this matchup? Where is it going?
I definitely would lean Jacksonville, just from the points that y'all brought up. The terrible offensive output from the Saints has been a question. Their defense is pretty solid. I don't think that it's solid enough to stop the push from Jacksonville right now. Pretty hot on their side, so I would definitely leave Jacksonville, but I would definitely lean the over in this. I see a final score 24-20. I see something like that. Late points going to come on, but yeah. What about you, Connor?
I kind of lean Jacksonville as well, but honestly, my first thoughts were maybe the under. The Saints really been kind of having trouble scoring, like y'all mentioned. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm not a gambling man, but the Saints have had a hard time scoring points. Jacksonville's been kind of up and down, but I kind of like the talent that they have more so than on New Orleans side.
Yeah, and I would agree with that.
Peterson will have those guys ready to play.
You still have Olave, you still have Kamara, Michael Thomas, but that's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
And if I saw this, Cameron, you can double check me, but I think they activated Jamal Williams for tonight.
They did.
Not to say that will play a huge part on the game, but just knowing that they'll have a extra set of fresh legs. Jamal's been out on IR for a few weeks, so they get him back. So maybe that helps. I don't know.
Hey, and Jamal's a touchdown machine. So if they get him, down inside the red zone, Jamal's that guy that can score points for New Orleans. But I'll say this, as far as yards allowed by each team, and this is the average through 6 games, keep in mind, Jacksonville has averaged giving up 356 yards of total offense to New Orleans 294.
Jacksonville's giving up that much?
Yep. They're on average giving up over 280 passing yards and over 75 rushing yards.
Man, I'm surprised their record's not worse than it is.
I know. I mean, they're 4-2, but you look at who Jacksonville's played recently, and they definitely got lucky against Buffalo playing. Maybe playing in London,
luck?
huh?
You think that was luck?
I don't know, man. Playing in London, maybe just bothered
maybe
Buffalo in that sense. I don't know.
Maybe so. I know playing in those international games, I don't know how many Buffalo's ever played in. So
A little expert about that too. Jacksonville stayed the week because they played 2 weeks in London in England. I don't know if it was both in the same location. Buffalo
beat the Falcons and then beat the Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo flew in on Friday, to play a Sunday game in New England. That's giving you not a lot of time for your body to. So that was the lean anyway. That's what I told Dylan. I said that's the lean. Mine or plus 5.5 Jags in that game's the lean just because of that. So one thing you can look at, but also in this game, I think Jacksonville's played a lot tougher opponents that do have a lot better passing game. So I expect them to be ready on that point. I don't think the yards that they've given up is that big a discrepancy because, they've already played KC and Buffalo, two of the most powerful passing attacks in the league. So that's just a disparity that I see in that. But another thing, just wanted to add.
Yeah, no, I agree with Brules. They played KC, they've played Buffalo, two really good teams. Houston, even, within the passing game, they've played against them. So they've definitely played some heavy-hitting offenses. But yeah, is there anything else you want to comment on this matchup before it gets started?
I think we've covered a good base. I think we can move on to letting everyone see what went down in our league this past week.
Hey, I'll add one thing. Mine and Broles' matchup kicks off because I'm rolling with Michael Thomas at flex. So
nice. Y'all know I got Calvin, so hoping to see.
Olave.
Man, we all got some people tonight. Brules, you got anybody going tonight?
I do not have anybody going tonight. Praise the Lord.
Well, talking about our previous week's matchups, week 6, we'll start at the bottom here and go up. You had the battle of the top managers in the league, Kevin and Burleson, and DB gave him a loss, which honestly was not great for me and Slowman. I really wanted Kevin to get the win, but that just makes this league even that much more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the standings, and we've suddenly got 5 teams with a 4-2 record.
Mm-hmm.
So, at that moment in week 2 and week 3, we had a lot of 2-1s, 1-2s, and we're finally starting to get a little bit of separation.
So looking at some of the players that made a big impact for Burleson in this win, obviously Tua having 3 passing touchdowns, nearly 300 yards through the air, had some pretty solid output really all across the board, except, minus his kicker and Devontae Adams, but it was still enough to get him the victory. And then you look on Kevin's side, obviously Kittle let him down. Brock Purdy didn't have the best day against the Cleveland Browns. That was, I think, a surprise to see, San Fran get their first loss of the season. So a couple things get working against Kevin this week.
Yeah, just if you would have thought Kevin had, an area lacking for him, you wouldn't have thought Purdy and Kittle. Both of them have been solid, it seems like, every week this year. So, and especially at Cleveland, not to knock their defense is pretty solid, but definitely would have thought you got more out of Purdy and Kittle.
Yep, no, definitely. And everybody else really performed pretty well for Kevin, aside from really those 3 spots, kicker, tight end, and QB. So, but hey, Dylan gets a nice win, beats a really good 4-1 team that was Kevin, and just, again, makes this league that much more competitive. So we'll go on to the next matchup here.
Yeah, it's suddenly pretty stacked at the top.
Oh, yeah. And just
getting lonely at the bottom.
Give y'all a visual reference of what Jeff was just talking about. This is the league standings as it sits right now. This is me, Connor, and Burleson. This is going to be all year long, us kind of neck and neck with each other, I feel like. Then you've got Parson, Brules, and DJ. Looks like DJ may be taking the turn for the worst right now.
Well, if he'd stop trading his best
Trading his
players, he
team
might.
away. He
Yeah,
had
he keeps.
Bijan. He had Tyreek Hill. Like,
He's had
I don't
Devontae.
understand.
He has almost had a complete roster turnover.
Look, DJ, if you watch this, I love you, man. You got to stop doing this, and you got to stop letting Connor do it to you, because he's gonna try it. He's gonna put it out there. If you take the bait, he's gonna, he ends up with a Tyreek Hill on his team.
Why do I get it?
Let me hop in right.
Here we go.
When the trade that Burleson and Broyles made is worse than mine.
Remind us of that trade, Sloman.
Burleson acquired Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin for. Hang on, I'm gonna tell you because I sent it.
That was actually Burleson and DJ.
Well, yeah. Burleson acquired Devontae Adams and Terry McLaurin for no. He acquired Devontae Adams for Terry McLaurin and Najee. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. I don't think that was a good trade either. It just happens more often with you, Connor, I think is the thing. But look,
that's my only. If you just saying, why am I getting pointed out? All right.
Look, I just wanted to say this. DJ arguably had the best post-draft team, especially after the trade that he did with Jonas that night in Jonas's little foyer there. I thought DJ had the best post-draft team next to me. And then week by week, it just kind of gets worse and worse and worse until eventually, trades Tyreek Hill away. And it's just, imagine if you're a fan of that team. Put yourself in that perspective. But thank you.
Well, I also, and this is something that Jonas talked about last week, and I'm sure, Brules, you and him have had this conversation as other people have too. There are certain untradeable players in this league. And I think Tyreek is one of those guys.
If you're going to trade Tyreek, you better get the absolute bag for
kitchen
him.
sink. 3 players and a first-round draft pick, maybe. I don't know. That might be stretching it, but I'm exaggerating the point that you have. What did you get, Connor?
I gave up 3 players in a second. All I'm saying.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And Sloman, just to go back to your point, DJ and Burleson trade. So DJ gave away Devontae and Mike Williams and got Scary Terry and Najee Harris.
Gosh.
That is correct.
That is bad. Well, if you look at our East Division, you've got, Kevin sitting comfortably at the top. Robbie has a good team, and he's put up more points for than everyone in his division, but has had 823 against. So, people are going off against Robbie, which is why, maybe he pessimistically predicted that Jonas was going to, get his first dub against him, and he called it right. But Robbie has a great team, and he's just had some pretty bad luck as far as the people that he's played against and the points that they've scored on him. And then Jonas there at the bottom. You want to talk about that, Jeff?
Jonas is kind of in the same boat as a few of us. He's given up over 800 so far this year, so that's always tough when teams are consistently scoring at least 130 on you. So not easy to overcome that. And I did want to point out one thing because we do have Broyles on. He has only given up 670 points on the year, which is the least amount in the entire league. I'm
very blessed in that stand. Like I really am very, very blessed to be where I am at 4-2. It's just it's an uphill battle for us.
Check out my 836 up there.
Yeah, I'll say that on Connor's behalf as well. He's given up the most in the league, and he's 500.
Yeah, that's true. So that's 2 different stories right there. Brules has had the fortunate circumstance of having, some wins, even though he's had injured players, and then the people that he's played have had not great weeks. So But now he's got a fully healthy team, and I don't see Brules slowing down really with who he has on his team right now. And then this can still be competitive down here, Jeff. I wouldn't lose all faith.
No, I mean, like we're heading into week 7. I'm not worried right now. If we don't get it turned around soon, though, I'll start to seek out any trade partners to have, perhaps either acquire some picks or just try to sell some players in hopes of getting some more productive players. But I'm fine right now. I'm just trying to get that number 8 seed. That's all I got to do.
I'll say 2 things, and then we'll move on to the next matchup. But number 1, you're the only team on a losing streak of 3 or more in our league right now. So,
thanks. I didn't notice that. I appreciate that.
So a little rough for you right now. You'll probably get that turned around this upcoming week. And then also, because another thing that I wanted to point out was the waiver budget. Look at how much everybody still has. Okay. And my question to you guys, because y'all burned me at the very beginning, is what are y'all going to spend it on? Because who's left on the board?
Well, you see players get hurt all the time. So it just takes one star player that gets hurt. Their backup suddenly emerges as a top pick. So you're still going to see players, appear. Like Julio Jones this week. I know $6 was only spent on him, but it's things like that you want to have some funds available in case a big name becomes available.
Yeah.
I'll interject this. You have to really be careful about that because in modern day NFL, the committee is so prevalent nowadays. So one guy, your main guy goes down, you got 3 other guys in the running back room. There's a chance that all 3 of those guys are going to be rotating in unless you have like a Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, instance where he goes down later in the year. You obviously know Zach Moss is going to fill every snap of that. But I just got burned. I spent $15 on Eric DeMarcado. I'm pretty sure he's back on the practice squad this week. So, just wanted to.
That's a bummer. I picked up Deontay Foreman in time and thought that was great addition for me. Thought that I was going to see double-digit points. Didn't matter. Just didn't matter at all.
And he's going to get the bulk of the work, though, for the next couple of weeks with Herbert on IR. But look out for Johnson as he gets healthier.
All right, Jeff, you want to talk us through Skunk and Jonas's matchup?
Yeah, kind of going back to it, Jonas has just had a rough stretch. Another manager putting up nearly 160 on him, despite him having a good outing. Put up 134 for the most part. And if you're Jonas, and if you're any of us, 134 most weeks will get you a win.
Did he leave points on his bench is my question. Jordan Addison, Michael Pittman Jr.
That's a tough one. You would have thought Addison would have. He did find the end zone. It's just you would have thought more volume, perhaps.
Because was this past week the first week that Justin Jefferson was on the IR?
It feels like it.
Because if that's the case, that's probably why he made that decision. And that makes sense. I can follow that.
Yeah, I believe this was the first game without Jefferson.
Yeah, that's tough. Either way, Dylan putting up 159 points, like Mostert having a 30-point fantasy game.
He's been just unbelievable this year. And, I know A-Chain has been the story in that backfield, but even with A-Chain back there, Mostert's been just as productive.
Oh, yeah. Just as much so. And Drake London kind of emerged and had a really good week. Typically we've seen Drake London hover somewhere below 10 points every week. And then he goose-egged the first game of the year. So seems like he's starting to get a little bit more involved in the Falcons offense.
I agree. And, you're going to get 20 plus from Jalen on most weeks, even in a week where the Eagles do struggle and lose to the Jets. But, you're still going to get production out of Jelano.
Jeff, do we need to bring up the Arizona Cardinals game? Do we?
So we're going to move on to the other matchup this week,
which features your best buddy Sloman versus DJ who were just given a really tough time about all of his trades that he has made. He did not have a great week. Debo 1 point, Gabe Davis
Yeah,
4
so it's
points.
a rough week when Sloman did acquire Tyreek Hill this week, and he managed to outscore all three players that DJ got in that trade.
And that is why you don't do that.
Yeah. That's going to happen. And then Sloman also benefits because he also acquired Gibbs, and now David Montgomery's continuing to battle some injuries. So, I mean, you would think that the Lions would unleash him at this point. It's week 7. Like, let him go. Let him run free. This is ridiculous.
It might have been, it was either the coach or maybe it was a coordinator, or it could have been one of the players that mentioned that they're trying to be what Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram were at the Saints back in the day, with that David Montgomery, your tough, running in the trenches type runner, and then you've got Gibbs kind of catching passes out of the backfield, but also if he gets to the edge, he's explosive, and we've seen what he can do. So, maybe they'll strike more of a balance even when David Montgomery's healthy. It seems like they do want to involve him in what they're doing.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, solid output from Sloman, getting the 33 from Tyreek was big. Typical 20 out of Keenan. And I think his brighter spot was Kansas City's defense last Thursday night.
Yep, against Denver, 28 points. I'm assuming a lot of that was, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss, and in a league that favors defensive scoring like ours, that's going to work out in your benefit. Sorry to cut you off there, Jeff. What were you saying?
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just saying that it doesn't show, but as a Russell Wilson owner, they did pick him off a couple times.
Ouch. Well, it's kind of clear what happened in this one. Good win for Sloman, and DJ continues to kind of fall behind there.
I love his team photo.
What was it?
Just
what is
on
that?
A beach.
Oh gosh. And this is a really close matchup right here. This one.
Yeah, this one was a pretty solid outing. I know, if I remember correctly, Trey ended up taking the lead later on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night, and ended up holding on. I can't remember what I know Dave Montgomery, he got hurt sort of early on in that Bucks game, and that kind of hurt Robbie's chances. That just, you're hoping to get another double-digit game out of him, and to him only getting 4 really hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that is probably the exact reason that Robbie doesn't come out of this week with a win, because everybody else kind of did their part on his team, and he lost by 10 points. David Montgomery is easily somebody that can get you 14 fantasy points, so that's
Right.
tough. Does he have anybody he can replace this upcoming week?
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to have to go Brian Robinson, Stevenson in his running back slot, and probably throw someone like Jaron Reed in his slot.
Yeah, perhaps.
Maybe
he was active on the waiver wire.
Just a little tidbit. A lot of bettors were mad at the David Montgomery getting hurt. Saw multiple $5,000, $7,000, and $8,000 parlays that were ruined due to Montgomery getting hurt in that first quarter.
I did not know that.
I mean, he's been a workhorse, so you put that kind of money expecting him to have that game against Tampa Bay, and then he goes down with an injury. That sucks. That's just really bad luck. All right, so Trey advances to 3-3. Robbie falls to 2-4.
Yep, and that is kind of one reason why I'm not hitting the panic button, is because you see Trey sitting there at 3-3 with the number 8 spot. So I'm 1 game back, along with a couple of us that are just 1, and even Jonas just 2 games out of 8th. So a lot to play for over the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, and then you had Bruls and your matchup. Y'all want to talk us through that? We got both of y'all on the call, so I'm gonna let y'all take it away.
Jeff, you can go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that this kind of went exactly what I figured it would do, and as you can tell by the projections, it sort of stayed in that line. Just I just did not get the production out of Hopkins. Laporta and Marquise had a quiet week. Russell Wilson was awful Thursday night, so just kind of what I expected. Just, Bulls getting a comfortable 30-point win.
And honestly, like y'all were saying, this was kind of my first week at Full Tilt. Cup did his thing like I expected him to. And then Eckler doing his thing a little bit. I think is that a 10 or a 16 that he had? I couldn't remember.
That's a 10. He had 4 catches for 35 yards, along with 27 rushing yards.
Yeah, gonna need to pick that up, honestly. Him and Bijan both.
Dude, the Chargers have struggled in their running game this year. Like, I know they've had a couple of games where Eckler's done his thing, but I can tell you that personally because I picked up Josh Kelly once Eckler was out after week 1 or week 2, and they could not get anything going on the ground. They had to rely heavily on their passing game.
Yeah, it's struggle. Kellen Moore out there with his first year head coach. It's going to be a tough thing for him just to get everybody involved. I think that's his biggest thing right now is just trying to figure out. Doesn't want anybody feeling left out of the offense that passes about 40, 50, 60 times a game. So I understand. But hopefully we can get that going with Eckler. I think, really just trying to get him back in the fold as well. It's his first week back. I think he's fully healthy, but you never know on that. So I think
I would also
Travis did his thing.
Dude, he did. He had a great game on Thursday night.
No tuds. Lost me a little penny, but we had the yards. We had the 40-yard plus catch. So stuff like that. If he continues to do that, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a 16, 17, upward score. But yeah, they're just ready. I was just glad to be back at Full Tilt this week. I'm sorry that it had to be Jeff that took it out. I'd much rather had played Jonas or somebody like that that's a little softer.
Well, y'all pretty much swap places as far as that's concerned. Like, you started off pretty heavy with injuries, not Jonas, but Brules, and now you're looking really good. And now, for those of you that don't know who Jeff has on his roster, he's got Justin Jefferson on the IR, and he's got Deontay Johnson on the IR. So 2 really good, impactful receivers that he's not getting to play. I mean, Justin Jefferson could have easily been the difference in this game right here. He's that kind of player.
You replace the Justin Jefferson outing, Hop. I mean, I don't know if Jeff would have had to choose between Hop or Justin Jefferson, but if you replace, a 30-point outing right there, it's a lot closer game. So,
right. Yeah. I'm just hoping that Justin Jefferson plays again this year. I'm really concerned that they're going to sit him.
That's the biggest thing because you just saw what happened with Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. We're going to go ahead. We ain't even going to force him back. We're going to go ahead and get him surgery, and we're going to, plan for the future.
I just want him to come back. That's all I ask.
And it all depends on what the Vikings, I think, do with Kirk Cousins. If you see Kirk Cousins get dealt, there is no doubt in my mind that Justin Jefferson will not play again this year. No doubt, unless it's unless it's week 14, 15, they've got a scrub, and he just wants to get reps or something like. I do not see Justin Jefferson coming back if they deal Kirk Cousins. But if they work through this rough patch and they're in a contention, you may see them try to go. But it's the NFL, anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I would see it, and this would just be my mentality if I was in Justin Jefferson's shoes, and I don't know how much control he has over it, but I would almost have like that Kobe mentality about it. Like, there are kids out there in the stands that if I'm healthy, they want to see me play. This league will make money off of me being on that field. So there's a lot of factors to him, I mean, he's like the face of the league in a way. You see him on Madden covers. I mean, he's top 2, top 3 receivers in the league right now. So I think everybody wants to see him come back, including Jeff.
Jeff is fancy.
Please.
But that moves us to our last matchup of this previous week, which was me and Tyler. I mean, I guessed it right. Tyler has a really good team. Came away with a win. I mean, if there was going to be a week where I was going to beat him, it was this week because he didn't have like a super explosive performance. He didn't put up 140, 150 like a couple of you guys did. But, my tight end position is my Achilles heel right now. It doesn't matter who I put in it. I mean, Hunter Henry, Noah Fant, both with less than 2 points. Kendrick Bourne decided to have, a randomly good week on my bench.
I don't know where you would have plugged him in at, though.
I wouldn't have. That was the thing. Like, I'm not sitting Ridley and DJ after the last game he had, and Ayuk gets touches. So there's nothing I can really do than just sit back and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think that, I'm not taking anything away from Kendrick, but that seems more like an outlier kind of game.
Yep.
It's not like he's been doing this every week.
No. I picked him up initially because he was doing that in the beginning, and I saw that Patriots offense start off promising, but we've all seen that go downhill very fast. So he's on my bench just as a bye week cover at this point. But
Makes
everybody
sense.
else, Isaiah Pacheco, I'm starting to feel better about having him as my RB1. He's putting up consistent points for me right now. Patty 20 points, my defense 20 points, my kicker 15. So kudos to Tyler and getting that dub. He just had the better team this week. That's all it was.
Yeah, I kind of feel you on that. This did feel like one of those weeks where you kind of caught a break with Burrow and Chase having a quiet week. But, it's just one of those low-scoring affairs. Just didn't turn out the way that you would have preferred. But hey, brand new week now.
Week 7, and here we are. We've got Robbie this week. 3-3 versus a 2-4.
This will be interesting.
This could be pretty close. I mean, we're
so
both...
you've got Ridley and he's got Kirk. So this, I'm intrigued.
Yep. I'm just like, Trevor, please throw it to Calvin tonight. And, I know Robbie's on the other end being like, please throw it to Christian. He's got CeeDee Lamb with a bye, which is huge for me. He's got David Montgomery out. So I feel like I'm really catching a break right here going up against Robbie.
And I did want to ask you one thing. Does the Packers signing James Robinson concern you in any way in terms of owning Aaron Jones?
I've been concerned with having Aaron Jones from the start of the season. I mean, his first week, 24-point showing, and then he had the hamstring injury. And, I mean, it's been pretty much nothing from that point on.
I got you.
So it seems like there's obviously trouble there. A.J. Dillon hasn't been impressive by any means, really, either. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
I got you. I was just curious because, anytime you see a team bring in a running back that's got the experience of a back like Robinson, you just have to wonder how involved he's going to end up being.
Yep, that's a good point, and honestly did not realize that they had picked up James. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, I will be confident in my team this week, and I'm going to give myself the win, especially with the Patriots struggling like they've been struggling. I don't know that Ramondre has that great of a game. He's got CD and David out, as I mentioned. So I'm gonna give myself the benefit of the doubt this week. What's your take, Jeff?
Yeah, considering the lineup challenges that Robbie's facing this week, I think I'll lean your way as well. Just losing Montgomery to injury and having CD on a bye, that's going to take a toll considering he's having to roll with some players that he typically wouldn't have, on his first choice. So, yeah, I think you get back over 500 this week.
That would be great. We'll see what happens. I'm going to have I really want the Chiefs offense to just finally explode. Like, I haven't seen, I went after Patty really early in the draft this year, and everybody kind of looked at me sideways when I did it. Because it's not very common that you take a QB as early as I took him. But it's because it's Patrick Mahomes. He puts up crazy fantasy numbers, but he also doesn't have a Tyreek Hill on his team anymore. And fantasy-wise, he has struggled this season. He's not putting up the numbers that he normally does. In reality, they're great, and they're in a position to potentially win their division.
No.
Are Super Bowl contenders. And this right here
are
1-5 team.
1-5 isn't bad. I love that. How's your night going, Jonas?
It's okay. Kurt just now caught a pass for the first time. For some reason, Evan Ingram's seen 4 targets.
Evan Ingram's got 4 targets?
4
The game just
targets, dude, on
started.
the first drive.
Golly.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep, and that's just how this night's going to go for me. It looks like Ingram and Christian Kirk early on.
Yep, sure is.
Oh,
How are y'all
man. Well,
doing?
hey, so we've wrapped up our last week's matchups, Jonas. Obviously, you didn't have a great week. I didn't. Neither did Jeff. So, Connor, I got to win. Brules also got to win. But, us three here talking at the moment, we all had pretty rough week 6.
Yeah, so did we talk about how, I'm sure this has been talked about. I imagine Broyles brought it up. DJ traded Tyreek Hill for Tyreek Hill to combine have more points than all 3 of the guys that he traded for.
It was mentioned. Do you
Okay,
want to
cool.
let us know how you feel about it?
Nah, I'm good. But I do wanted to talk about remember last year when there was a trade between Connor and Kevin, and like Kevin was getting 2 Alabama players and Connor was getting the 2 best players in the NFL, and Connor threatened to quit the league because we wanted to veto the trade. But that's why we veto trades.
That was a terrible trade, by the way.
Hey. Let me jump in on that. Let me jump in. Hey, if you remember, the trade was Brian Robinson and DeAndre Hopkins for Najee Harris, who didn't do jack diddly. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's a bad trade. Trade rape. I'm the one that got raped. I lost that trade. I lost that trade. Najee was doing what he's doing right now, which is getting about 5 flipping points a game. So thank you for your input."
Yeah, well, like Broyles said, Brian Robinson had just gotten carjacked and got 4 holes put in him like 50
Nope.
Cent and was like,
Back from that.
yeah, the aftermath.
He just came back from that. He walked out to many men.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
That was cold.
That was
D
cold.
was coming back from the PED suspension, so he's all roided up, ready to go.
That's
And
right.
I got Najee out of it, who was nothing. He did nothing.
Cameron, it looks like ETN's got an early touchdown.
Do you know how long the rush was?
Nah, it wasn't very long.
There was a player
was 2
prop on him
yards.
tonight for 64 yards and a half over under.
So it was just a 2-yard touchdown, but so far he's got 6 rushing yards. But he does have a catch for 15.
I was the only panelist, per se, that did pick the over, too, so watch out.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Early score.
This isn't good for me because I've also got the Saints defense.
Jeff, your matchup with your brother. How you feeling?
I mean, I feel okay. I just need Kamara to chill. It seems like ever since he has rejoined the Saints, he's been a PPR monster. I think his first week back, he had 13 catches for 33 yards. So I need the Jags to contain him, and I need Olave to be uncontainable.
Yeah, that'd be best case scenario. Have all the receivers getting the targets and Kamara just running the ball. But we all know that the Saints love to use him out of the backfield as a passing weapon. So
they sure do. So I'm hopeful that I can find a way to win this week. I'm still kind of I'm not settled on my lineup yet. I just don't know which direction I'm going to go in yet, but I will sort of piece it together later this week and hopefully find a way to squeak out a win before I go to 2-5.
So is that your call? Are you going 2-5? Or are you squeaking out the win, Jeff?
I'm gonna squeak it out. I don't know how yet. Ask me later, but I'm gonna squeak it out.
I'm gonna ask the committee on this one, guys. How we feeling about Jeff getting the win this week?
Don't do this.
I mean, I can't believe Kevin's team is still intact like this with all these teams on a bye.
I know.
Jeez. Yeah, you're right.
He does have Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard on a bye, and Brandon Cooks.
Yeah,
and Irv Smith.
Golly, he still got. Man, I forgot he had A-Chain. Sheesh.
Is this the least amount of Bama players Kevin has ever had on his team?
What has he got, 2?
He's only got 2.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper, I don't know if we even claim him after these last couple of years.
Kamara was technically on Bama's team.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh,
Oh wow! Yeah, when you get technical, yeah.
that's true.
He was.
What do you
Well,
think,
guys,
Cameron? Where are you going?
Jeff, I mean, I'm going to give you the win this week. I'm going to say that you squeak it out and that you give Kev his third loss and he's going to go on an L2.
Let's
That's my call.
go.
I do also lean with Jeff. I think you have a big week coming from Laporta. I think the Ravens defense outside of the corners and the deep secondary is very suspect. Other than the defensive line as well, but just very suspect in that middle of the field. They always get killed by tight ends. It seems.
I'll take it.
I think it's a coin, dude. I really think it's a coin flip, but I think Jeffy is due.
Y'all are killing me now. Don't everybody pick me. Damn it. That will that's some
Well,
bad
here, Jeff,
juju.
I'll get on the other side of that seesaw here. I got Kev all day. I mean, Jeff's going to have Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's going to have 50 for Jeff to pull this one through.
Well,
is Deontay Johnson actually playing this week? Is he returning back?
he was a full participant in yesterday's practice, so if he's full on a Wednesday, I can't imagine he doesn't play.
Kamara,
Well,
another 6. So,
and then in that Cleveland backfield, is it split right now with Jerome Ford being in the backfield?
Sort of, kind of, but Kareem Hunt got more looks. Dadgummit, dude. Kamara already with one catch.
I know, I saw that.
Let's be honest. Kareem Hunt is their guy more than Jerome Ford is.
Yeah.
You give this 1 or 2 more weeks, and that's going to be Kareem Hunt's backfield. No doubt.
Hostile takeover.
And that would just give Kevin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 startable running backs.
All right. Well, so had a little bit of everybody was leaning towards Jeff minus Jonas in that prediction. So we'll see how it pans out. And then we've got Brules and Sloman.
There we go.
This is a good one, guys. The 4-2 mob ties against Kenny F. Powers, 3-3. We got everybody healthy. Nobody's on a bye, really, that's super important for either team, other than T. Higgins for Brules. But
I wouldn't have played him.
He would. Yeah, he just said he wouldn't have played him anyways.
He's been booty.
But man,
I'll take him.
Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Josh Jacobs. I mean, they can combine for so much. But on the opposite end, Cooper Kupp, it's crazy that you have 2 Rams receivers as your 1 and 2. That is nuts. I don't either.
I was reading most of the week that Puka should be a number 1 receiver on everybody's team. Like, if you've got Puka in a league, he should be the number 1 on your team.
Hey, I'm actually changed today. I was tired of seeing Terry McLaurin up there at my wide receiver 2, and thought Puka had done enough to be up there in the 1 and 2 conversation. Hopefully that'll kick him, get him a little more productive this week.
There's a lot of firepower on both of these teams, so this could be a shootout. What are you thinking, Sloman?
I think Puka's going to have a week like he had last week where he gets about 6 because that benefits me. Now, I don't know. I'm hoping. I'm hoping, but even, man, I told Bowles earlier we were talking. Man, with everybody, most of the league being kind of decimated, injuries and bye weeks, whatever, we're maybe the only 2 teams who are at full strength this week, and we're dadgum playing each other. So we're just going to beat up on each other a little bit this week. But, I mean, he's got the best team in the league. He's probably got it this week. But I do have a team that is capable of giving it a run and maybe coming out with a win this week. But, I mean, there's no doubt that Brules has got the best team right.
All right. Are you leaning your way, or are you giving so did you give Brules the win this week, Sloman?
I'm going to try to aside from my competitive nature. I am leaning towards Brules this week, but never count out.
And that's what I was going to say. I honestly, with the firepower and explosive abilities from his top three guys, it is a coin flip at this point. We both have great rosters. Connor's done his through trading. I did mine through the first 4-round picks. And it's gonna be a good matchup. Like Connor said earlier, though, the only thing is, if we are playing anybody else in the league, we probably have a cakewalk to victory this week. But since we don't, we're just gonna put on a show of what fantasy's supposed to look like. Me and Connor are gonna, maybe y'all can take some notes this week and really learn from two great fantasy owners. So
Hope we give you some fireworks this week.
yeah,
That's what I was wanting to get to, is that this feels like a matchup where the winner, or, it feels like someone's going to have to get at least 150 if they want to win.
So somebody's putting up 150 this week. In my mind, I'm thinking this could end up being 50 something, 140 something game.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Shootout of the week.
I agree. Jonas, you quiet on this one. What you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, two mortal enemies here going head to head. I'm thinking Connor's flex position is weak, man. So this is why I get a trade for Michael Thomas once a week, because he wants him off the roster, and I don't blame him. He's got Derek Carr, who's getting designed runs in the game right now, and the only person that's ever getting the catch is Kamara anyway. So why would you want Michael Thomas and his cocky ass attitude? And then Brule's with Eckler and Robinson. I mean, yeah, I'm leaning Brules on this one, but that's no hate against the team that DJ has created for Connor.
Hey, Michael Thomas ain't nothing special this year, but he's a consistent double-digit week. So I mean, I know he's not going to go out there in any matchups, but I don't think Michael Thomas is going to lose here.
No.
So
at what point do we raise the Connor DJ collusion question? Like at what point?
Is it being raised right now?
the same point we raised it with you, Brawls.
Hey, we did a great deal.
Hey, John. Hey, but look,
That's
you know
1
what?
versus 5.
Hey, listen, I don't run my mouth about nobody else's trades, even though they talk smack about mine. Hey, I could, but I won't. Hey, it ain't none of my business, and I just try to worry about,
I can respect that.
Maybe everybody can take a leaf. You know what I mean?
So,
Yeah, learn from
Bros,
Connor.
let me ask you this: is throughout the league, and I don't know this, but I know that you and Jonas have spoken about this before. Like, do other members of the league feel that there is some sort of under the table agreement between Connor and maybe some other players when it comes to trade?
Maybe not Connor and DJ. The only one that's really been raised over the last couple of years is the DJ and Duh. There's got to be something going on there. We see what that trade was. The trade at the beginning of the year. I think week 2 or week 3. That was probably the most one-sided trade in the history of fantasy football, and I'm talking about like the whole iteration of fantasy football. Even back when people were trade raping for Plaxico Burress. Like, I'm gonna send you Plaxico, and So
Hey, another one. Plaxico Burress getting traded. He just came out the club with 3 gunshots.
yeah, like, oh yeah, I got Plaxico Burress. Well, guess what? He's in the hospital. So like,
Are you indicating there's some kind of COC correlation between Duh and DJ here?
I was going to keep religion out of it.
I'm just picking up what he's sitting down. I'm asking, is that what you're saying?
we definitely know that is very big part of them. So I think I could see that. Not one to ever use JC as the crutch, but you never know in this one. You never know.
Well, guys, I think we all know how we feel about these trades that go on, and as Connor alluded to, look, if the trade happens and both managers feel like they benefit from it, you kind of have to just. It is what it is.
And I'm in that boat too. Like, I'm in that boat too, but like my side falls on like, don't be so inept as a fantasy owner to one, make your team worse, but to make Sloman's team better.
Yeah.
That's more what I'm in. Like, you got to look at who you're making better, bro. It's like, I might make that trade with Skunk or Trey or somebody else, but to make Connor's team better, like when we all know the message he sends after he eliminates somebody from the playoffs. You really want that? You want that?
It's a fair point.
Come on.
No, hey, nobody wants to get the gift, man. Nobody wants.
Yeah, that's one of the hardest ways to go out in the playoffs. Is obviously losing in the playoffs is something you never want to experience, but then on top of it, you got to get that stupid gift that Sloman loves sending every time he advances. So yeah, I'll second that.
Well, you've got next matchup. You've got Trey and DJ, both projected pretty low in this one.
Yeah, Trey needs to. Has he got a kicker yet, or a deep? What? Yeah, he needs to throw in a kicker in there.
He definitely does, and that'll help his projections out. But I'm going Trey in this one. Like before, I don't have to do much analyzing here. DJ's ripped his team to shreds, and we saw what happened last week. There's been players on his team that just aren't performing that consistently, and he's got Kenny Walker now, which I think is a great running back to have. But Jerry Jeudy and the Broncos and Russell Wilson, they're all struggling as a whole right now. Saquon.
I'm honestly, and this will, kind of depend, but if DJ is able to get Debo playing Monday night and Saquon plays, I like DJ in this one. I think this is just a tough week for Trey. Kyron is now hurt. Justin Fields is hurt. Mixon's on a bye. Starting those running backs on Trey's roster will be tough this week. I don't think he'll get enough to overcome all the players he's missing this week. So I'm going to go DJ in this one.
Okay, split down the middle. I like it. I think this is another one of those, flip a coin. It could go either way kind of games. Diggs and Amon-Ra, those two alone could combine for 60, 70 points, depending on what kind of week Buffalo and Detroit has. But yeah, I see your point. I think DJ's very, very possibly could get that win. Anybody on their bench that's worth starting? No.
It was probably a bad move for DJ to start Goff when Goff's number one receiver is on the opposite team.
Yeah.
Not a bad point.
I'm not crazy about that either.
Receivers benefit in that particular scenario just off of reception plus yards alone. So
right. So you would have to hope Goff is hitting everybody but his top tier.
But his main guy.
Yeah. So
Hey, I'm the opposite on that, guys. I think that's a reason to start Goff, because if Amon-Ra has multiple touchdowns, then so does Goff. So it kind of offsets it. If Amon-Ra has a bad game, then maybe so does Goff. So it still kind of offsets it. But maybe if Amon-Ra has a bad game, Goff could still maybe have a good game. I feel like it either offsets it or it kind of helps make sure that he doesn't get burned too bad by a big Amon-Ra day.
That's not a bad thought. I see what you're saying, because anytime if St. Brown finds the end zone, it's more than likely from Goff. So, he benefits from Amon-Ra scoring. I do kind of like that.
Yep. I think that's a good point. But yeah.
Yeah, Connor got me there. That's a great point. I kind of like that as well.
Well, we will kind of go on to the next matchup here, unless Jeff, you had anything else you wanted to say on that one.
No, I think we covered that one pretty well. Who else?
And we've got Jonas playing Burleson.
Here we go. I can't wait to hear. All right, Jonas, what do you think?
All right. So first off, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I really don't want to start Evans, but I have no other option because Gus Edwards sucks. That was the biggest waste of fab of all time, and so I had to lay it down and double down on the Evans guy to come through for me. Metcalf had a ridiculously high projection this week. I'm not sure what that's from, and it's a bummer that Thielen, who is like what does it say? I think he's 18th overall points.
Well, this is a
he was
divisional
on this.
game. This is a divisional game for Seattle, and Seattle's playing at home, so I can see why.
Thielen's out, and that is basically my workhorse. Addison's not going to see the field. I'm afraid that the Vikings don't even have an offense without Jetta. And then, of course, with Dodd's team, you always got to worry about Adams giving you 40, Waddle giving you 50. That fucking bum Swift. This is the week it's really going to come back and bite me, too, because, I hated Swift so much. Basically gave him up for what I thought was a good trade at the time, but Swift's been outperforming Brees and Cousins since then. I mean, not points wise, but just having one singular guy that'll give you 20 a game. And then like our projections, man. I mean, the fact that he was already projected like 12 to 14 points ahead of me is just a friggin' bummer. So no, it's
Yeah.
14 points. I mean, so I mean, I've got to. I mean, 1-6, 1-5 is not bad. 1-6 is bad.
So are you giving it to Burleson this week,
No,
or do
I'm
you?
taking it. I don't play that. I'm not. No, it's my win.
It's your
But
win. All right.
yeah, it's my win. I just talked bad last week because I put myself minus 500 on the money line against Skunk, and then
Mm-hmm.
got throttled.
Probably
Throttled.
probably the biggest money line disparity that we've had. That's right.
Yeah.
I think you do
People saw
have.
that line in Vegas and just hammered Skunk.
I think you have one thing working for you this week, Jonas, and some people might disagree with me, but I think that the Miami Dolphins are going to struggle against Philly, which is going to limit the amount of points that you're seeing from Tua and from Jalen. So, Devontae Adams could very easily go off on a Chicago defense that's not fantastic. Swift could have a really good game. Godwin in Atlanta could have a promising game. Ingram is already getting targeted like crazy in this game against New Orleans. So I think that you have a chance to win this one. I really do. It's going to.
Expect Pitts to have a good game in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, it may. Are we considering Godwin a bust this year? I mean, his projections are ridiculously high every game, but I mean, what is his output?
It's not bad. I know last week it was a little low. I could be wrong on that. Let me pull up what he has done because he's usually whatever he's projected, he usually gets. It's been pretty tight.
Let's see.
Where are the Bucks? My gosh. So like last week, he led the Bucks in receiving. He had 13.7 fantasy points.
Okay, I mean, I guess all you can ask for is that a guy meets his projection anyway.
Yeah. So for the year, I know wow. I see where you're coming from, Jonas. He has not found the end zone yet this year.
Which is kind of unheard of from Godwin. He's always a red zone target.
Wow.
Tampa Bay's really been relying on their defense to get their wins this year, and even outside of that, it's not been good. It's not looked good.
I agree. The Bucks have struck. Rashad White is the only player with a rushing touchdown, and he's only got one.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. What's the Bucks record?
3-2.
I think they have the least amount of yards gained this year. I'm pretty sure. Like they're in like I'm pretty sure New York is 32 and they're 31.
Yeah, that speaks to their defensive play a lot. I mean, they have had their moments on offense where you've seen Mike Evans have some really good weeks and Baker finding a couple of guys open. But that points to the Bucks playing some really good defense.
Oh,
y'all go ahead and make y'all's predictions.
Jonas, I'm gonna give you a win this week. I'm gonna give you a win against Burleson. Yeah, no, I'm gonna say that you get the job done. Because let me tell you one thing that you're not doing if you're the Vikings is you're not gonna have a chance to run the ball against this 49ers team. You're gonna Kirk Cousins is gonna have to air this guy out. In my opinion, I still don't think you should. That's a hard hard choice right there with Jordan Addison on your bench, but I do think they're going to have to rely on the passing game heavily against the 49ers. And I can see a couple of your receivers having some good games. So I'm going to give you the win, Jonas. That's my take on it.
I may make a late call. But, I sat Pittman last week, and I think he gave me 24. And that's just tough seat on the bench. And, Addison may do it to me this week.
Yeah, I imagine that the Vikings will struggle a little bit Monday night. San Francisco's defense is one of the top defenses in the league. But that is kind of working in your favor, Jonas. Kirk Cousins will probably have one of those games where he throws 45 passes. So, but I will say I'd probably lean duh on this one. I kind of go in a different direction than Cam. I think the Dolphins and Eagles game is going to be a shootout.
See, I also have that same sentiment, Jeff. I really think that A.J. Brown is going to give Jonas a huge game here. I don't think the same from, Evans right there. But I think if Pitt can carry the water, or A.J. Brown can carry the water for Philly, it's definitely going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, I'm going to lean Burleson in this one, and then close, but Burleson edges it out.
All right, let's see who that brings us to next. Dylan and Parson, the battle of the 4-2 squads.
Yeah, this will be interesting because, obviously someone is going to be well up in the standings after this game at 5-2 among, the best record in the league.
And Dylan does need to replace his tight end because Houston is on a bye this week.
Has he picked anybody up yet?
I don't see any action. So if he doesn't do that, I'm giving Parson this win. Like if he somehow overlooks that, Parson will walk away.
He'll figure it out. There's some tight ends available.
Well, what are you thinking in this matchup? If Dylan finds a replacement, and I'm sure he will, who are you giving this game to?
So ETN's already found the end zone once, and they're in the first quarter. Skunk needs to hang on for dear life right here because ETN could have another one of those 20-plus point games, and if that's the case, I lean Parson.
Yeah.
Especially because, McCaffrey dealing with an injury. I assume he's going to play, but he didn't practice today. But boy, if he doesn't have McCaffrey in his lineup, I think this one's an early wrap.
Yeah, I agree. And I accidentally clicked off this screen, but I think that this is still going to be a close matchup. Dylan can get it done this week. I think anytime you have McCaffrey and Mostert putting up the weeks that they are consistently, it's going to keep him competitive.
Absolutely.
And depending on the type of game that, Drake London and Jalen has, that'll make or break whether he gets a win this week. So I'm going to lean Parson though.
Yeah, and watch Parsons flex. Downs has been getting several looks, and I know that Indy has been playing behind in a couple of games, but Downs has been pretty solid, getting 7-8 targets a game, double-digit fantasy points. That's been an underrated flex play.
Yeah, I agree, but the goal is to go for volume, try to find those diamonds in the rough that are getting a lot of touches, getting a lot of targets. And if Downs is that guy that you put in, since you have a lot of people on a bye with this week, then,
Yeah. Hurts to have Burrow and Chase on a bye.
Yes, it does. I do think that Seattle is going to have a good week against Arizona. That's, I think, a little bias, obviously, because I do love the Seahawks, but they're playing good football this year, in my opinion.
That's a shootout game. Watch out for it.
Let's see it. That'd be awesome.
Cardinals have they've been putting up points despite the lack of superstar talent on that roster.
You're really going to see the flexness of the head coaches in that game. I think both of them are going to want to show their bag. and really outscore the other opponent. I really just think that that's going to be a shootout this week.
Let's see here.
Yeah, I agree.
Over a few more.
I like
Well-
Parsons in that one, whether or not McCaffrey plays or not.
Okay. Jonas going Parson. Brules, who did you pick in that game? Or I said Brules, I meant Parson.
I'm going to lean the other way just because I don't want Parson to get a win because he is in my division.
Yeah, I feel you on that, Brules. I'm in the same position against Burleson. I'm almost trying to will, Jonas to a win this week against Burleson because me and Sloman could benefit greatly from that. Yeah, this is going to be a good week, guys. I'm excited for it and have yet to see anything from Calvin, so he better step it up.
Yeah, Christian Kirk got an early catch, but he fumbled it.
He's got 3 catches for 34 yards out of the gate.
Who does?
As it sits. Christian Kirk.
Sheesh. Yeah, Calvin doesn't have a target.
That's huge for the program, but we got to get Calvin some targets.
Yes, we do.
That is surprising.
Well, I mean, that wraps up last week's matches. That there's no trades that happened in week 6 for our league. There was a couple of waiver wire pickups from a couple of people. Sloman picked up Julio Jones, who obviously we saw just got put on a 1-year contract in Philly. So interested to see how much ball he ends up playing and if he makes an impact.
If he does make an impact, I just want y'all to know that I did want him first.
Yeah,
I did want Julio first. And Yahoo's
point, shortly after it was announced, for some reason Yahoo had Julio Jones out of their system, so no one was able to go get him. And I didn't even know someone had already picked him up. I didn't know he was available, so that is kind of weird how they didn't have him ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, that kind of covers all of it. Do you guys want to talk about any of the NFL matchups that we've got coming up this week? And I can actually pull that up right now. Let's see what we've got. We can talk over-unders. We can talk spread. Let's see.
What's the schedule? Let me see the schedule real quick.
I'm pulling it up, man.
I couldn't even keep up with how many teams are off this week. I mean, is this the first bye week for everybody?
last week.
Last week was?
Either that
It just
or
feels like
5.
there's so many more teams this year.
So there were a few teams on a bye in week 5.
Yeah.
I think that was the first week of bye weeks, but
I didn't even know we were in week 7.
yeah, we are already in week 7 of this season. It is flying by.
Well, here you go, guys. Here's matchups for Sunday.
That Raiders and Bears game is gross.
I love the under in that.
Oh, yeah.
The Bears can't score, and the Raiders' defense is really solid. I doubt that the Raiders get over 20 points. I'd expect a 20-7, 20-13 game in that.
So one thing to keep in mind with this game is that it's going to feature 2 backup quarterbacks. So definitely lean under in that too.
Mm. What's the last word on Anthony Richardson?
He's
out for the year.
He's what?
Out for the
year.
No way. Where have I been? That is Rappaport? Did anybody tweet that?
It was all over the internet yesterday or Tuesday.
Yesterday during the moment.
I don't know what I was doing. I missed that.
Yeah, he's having shoulder surgery and he is done for the year.
Dude, that sucks. I really thought he was going to lead that team to maybe a playoff win.
A grade 3 AC joint is what I was told.
That's
so
crazy.
With AR being out for the year, do we see that impacting the Colts negatively? Obviously, I mean, I think that it will, and you'll start to see them lose a little bit more games. I see Cleveland coming away with a win.
I think Gardner is going to slide into that. I think they're going to be exactly how they were with Gardner, with what they were with AR-15. I think Gardner's going to actually throw it a little better. He's going to open up because that's what he did in that one game. I forget.
Yeah, but AR brings that running element to the game.
He does. I think that is a big part of it. I think the read option with Jonathan Taylor was going to look really nice with those two. But now we won't see that till next year. But I don't think it's going to hurt them. They already weren't a playoff team.
I don't know.
I mean, 1-2 in their division right now, 3-3, and they're going up against a great defense in the Browns, an historical defense with what the Browns got right now. So, I do lean the Browns in this game, but overall, long term, I think the Colts are going to finish, right where they were going to in the first place. About a 7-8 or 7-9 team, and go up from there. Playing for next year anyway with Steichen in his first.
So y'all thinking Browns or Colts on this home game in Indianapolis?
Browns.
Yeah, Browns -3 is that's
All day.
Probably
all day.
play of the week. If we're being honest.
I'm surprised that the spread on this Buffalo Patriots game isn't more. Like, if it was 13.5, I wouldn't be surprised. So I think, obviously they're playing at home, but that's kind of crazy to me.
I think that is a big factor, is that if the Bills were at home, this would be another one of those 14, 15-point spreads that we saw last week against the Giants. So just being on the road, I think, Vegas always kind of, San Francisco last week, 9.5-point favorite against Cleveland on the road, but Cleveland won that game outright. So you just never know in this league, anything can happen.
It's ATN another touchdown.
But
what'd you just say?
The Patriots
another touchdown.
No.
Sorry. It was awesome.
Wow.
Jeez, man.
Dadgummit.
But I will say something about this. The line being that low for Buffalo, I think is two factors. Obviously, they are playing in New England. I don't think that's as big. The weather is the same in Buffalo as it is in Foxborough. But I think the biggest factor here is the Bills have not been the Bills as of late. Like they've won games, but you haven't seen that explosive offense that we've seen in the past. I don't know if it's the absence of having a pass catching back out of it, because I knew that was big, having Singletary and Cook.
You've seen it one time this year. Like, you've seen the Buffalo Bills look like the Buffalo Bills can be in one game, and it was against Miami. And they beat them by like 3 or 4 scores. Like, they went crazy in that game. But then, they travel to London, lose to the Jags in that game. So there's a lot of inconsistencies with their team right now. And we've seen frustration out of Diggs and that relationship with him and Josh Allen just, on the sideline.
Every year. That's an every year thing.
Season. And that's something that you can't have, if you rarely do teams do good when, you're on the outs during the off season, you coming back for training camp, you realize like, okay, I'm not getting traded, obviously. And am I going to hold out and miss a game check? Like, no, I'm not. Like, you've got to, it's almost real world stuff. Like, I'm doing this for my job. I've got to work with this person. I don't like you, but I've got to work with you. And then just that this is the guy that gives Diggs the ball, like he's the distributor of the ball. So rarely do you see teams come in like that and have successful seasons.
I cannot believe he scored another one.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then I think that'll further give Parson that lead on who he's got this week.
Not looking good for Skunk early.
Man, I wonder what the spread is in this Commanders-Giants game, because the Giants are 0-2 at home. Commanders are 2-1 away.
Yeah, if you go to there you go.
Yeah, one of those games they did not have Saquon. I don't think they'll have Daniel Jones again this game. I'm not sure, but they might not have DJ for this one.
This is their full injury report. Questionable from Daniel and Saquon.
And Saquon's going to get that questionable tag every week from here on out. Just injury report type stuff. Daniel Jones.
Trivia question. Who's the Giants' backup quarterback?
Tyrod Taylor.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Crap. That's good, Jeff. You win. You get a point.
Nice.
I don't think they have anybody much after that.
And Tyrod is one to get hurt.
Well, you've got the
I really
Falcons
thought
at the
Tom was going to get the win.
Bucks.
Really thought he was going to get the win over his former team last week.
Falcons at the
Hmm.
Bucks.
Yeah, Falcons at the Bucks. And the Falcons are 0-2 on the road. I think these are just two teams that have been struggling. I mean, the Bucks probably edge this one out, in my opinion, playing at home. Falcons are struggling on the road. These teams have been inconsistent, really, nonetheless, but the Buccaneers have a really great defense.
I got a stat for you, Cameron.
Let's hear it.
Desmond Ritter is winless on the road in his career.
Oh,
Does that change on Sunday?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's going to be. I think Buccaneers defense is going to shine in this one. I really think.
I like this matchup right here on Sunday. I'm going to be watching this one. Lions versus the Ravens. Got two really good teams squaring off. To me, the Ravens look like a bad 4-2 team.
I was about to say, are the Ravens good or have they just played?
Very lucky for him.
I think they're, you've seen Lamar basically just backpack that organization all season. And the Lions have such a complete roster. They had J-Mo back. And didn't he get in the end zone this past week?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
First week back, man. Obviously, the Lions are down David Montgomery. But, dude, I'm giving it to the Lions on the road. And they actually have Baltimore spread -3.
And I could definitely see the Lions taking this one. One thing that the Lions will always bring is tenacity, and that's something that I think lacks from the Ravens side of the football sometimes. I think there's a lot of predetermined stuff in the Ravens' heads that think they're going to walk over whatever team that they play, and that affects them, all the time. Lamar's playing all right, but he's definitely not the Lamar that we knew. He's not getting out of the backfield, and when he does get out of the backfield, it seems like he always fumbles. So
I'm on the Lions there too. I think that's a weird line. Lions, they said they were 3-0 on the road. Like they obviously have no problem playing on the road.
I just feel like they have a complete team, man. Like
Yeah.
they've got all the pieces. There's nobody that's really having to tote the load really that much. And hey, David Montgomery gets hurt. We've got Jameer. We can pass the ball 40 to 50 times a game if we need to. So I feel like Detroit has options. Not to say that Baltimore doesn't, but not like Detroit, in my opinion.
And Detroit does a great job of bringing their personnel, like not putting Goff in too many positions to throw interceptions. Like not too many downfield routes. We're running short and intermediate routes, trying to gain the ball, trying to win the time of possession. And that's a big thing that's often overlooked. Like most of these teams in the NFL would be good if their coordinators would build their teams around them instead of running their stuff. A lot of coordinators say, I'm going to run my offense through you, but in reality, you have to build your offense. That's why Mike McDaniel is so good right now in Miami.
Miami, yep.
He's watched Tua. He realizes what Tua does well. I forget, it was like 7,000 clips he watched of Tua before he even got the job in Miami. So he's done that for his whole entire offensive scheme. He's built that offense to where his guys will always be in positions to win. And that's one thing that Detroit does very well too.
Didn't the Lions just pick up a Rams receiver?
I don't know.
Wasn't it Van Jefferson? Bros, didn't he spend some time on your roster last year?
Van
He went to
Jefferson
Atlanta.
was on my roster this year.
Oh, he went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Van Jefferson was on my roster this year. So,
Rolls, you at one point had the entire receiving room for the Rams.
Yeah. Hey, when you throw 60, 70 passes a game, I'll take all three receivers.
I don't blame you, man. You've got Pittsburgh playing on the road in LA. Speaking of the Rams are 1-2 at home. Pitt's 1-1 away. So this could go really either way. But we're looking at a spread in favor of the Rams, -3 at home, and a 44 point total.
Yeah. Definitely lean the under in that though, and I'll tell you why. Just real quick, I think this game is going to be won and lost for the offensive line versus the defensive line. The defensive line for Pittsburgh is quite possibly the best that we've seen in 10, 12 years in the NFL. TJ Watt, Highsmith, both of them just eating every single game. So I think that Stafford's going to be sacked a lot, and I think that the Pittsburgh defense will really show its worth.
So you think Pittsburgh steals a win on the road in LA?
I think they steal a win on the road. Obviously, I think Puka and Cup still get theirs, but I think that the red zone is going to prove key. I don't see LA scoring a lot in the red zone in this one. I do see Pitt getting a ton of sacks and a ton of long yardage situations for the Rams.
I don't entirely disagree with you. The main concern for Pitt's going to be their secondary, but they've got Joey Porter Jr., who has been locked down, but he can't cover all of them. Even if he stays on Cooper Kupp, let's say the entire game, like they can hit Puka all they want, and he's got, as you look right here, 50 receptions to George Pickens' 22 receptions.
I just don't think that they're going to get time. I just don't think that the time's going to be there. If it is there, it's going to be short and intermediate routes. You're really going to have to make Kupp and Puka beat you off the line of scrimmage.
That's going to be the impact. It's going to be the pass blocking from LA. If they can hold off TJ Watt, they'll be okay. If not, it could be a long day for LA.
Absolutely.
Then you've got the last three. No, you've got Cardinals, Seahawks, Packers, Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs. I feel like even though the Chargers' record doesn't show it, this is still going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'd like it. God, over under 48. I still kind of think under.
There's some weird lines this week.
I don't like that line. Yeah,
I wouldn't have said it at 48.
I'm looking forward to the Dolphins and Eagles Sunday night. I think that game's going to be so much fun.
We finally get a primetime game that's worth a shit. Excuse my French, but keep New York out of the primetime games. Like, mother of God. Like, I don't want to see Danny and his long neck anymore.
I do seriously think it's been like the Giants and the Jets a lot this year.
It has. And, obviously it was probably scheduled out that way. You've got, you're expecting to see Aaron Rodgers have the season that everybody wanted him to have. And then, down he goes after 4 plays. It looks like Sloman's wanting to say something.
I just, you're mentioning the Giants. I just wanted to know if Jonas wanted to tell us what he thinks about Daniel Jones.
Dude, Danny boy is just not the man in New York, man. It's a bummer. The Big Apple is just eating him up and about to spit him out, and he's going to lose his job to somebody like
that's
Caleb
not
Williams.
been saying that, because I remember a quote famous mentioned multiple times is what did you always say, Jonas?
Daniel Jones wins football games. He does not. He's struggling this year.
He does not win football games.
But he just got a huge contract extension.
Huge.
What's he making? Like $45 million a year?
Dude, something crazy.
Something crazy.
What about the 49ers covering their spread on the road in Minnesota?
They should handle their business. I think this is like a get-right game after their struggles last week. So
the Vikings cover that though. Monday night prime times, they've been close the last couple times. So
they have. I worry about their offense against the defense of this kind of talent.
Man, Kirk and Danny on primetime night though.
Yeah.
Never really great. But
I will say one thing about that.
I will say. Go ahead, bros. I got one thing to defend Daniel Jones' long neck.
One thing about that Chargers Chiefs game, just to revisit that under 48. The Chiefs haven't even scored 20 the last couple games, so
that line's high.
That's extremely high.
Danny Boy has had to play the Cowboys, then he beat the Cardinals, got his ass handed to him by the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Dolphins, and the Bills. Listen, That's a tough start. Okay, I
That
understand what we're
is a
saying
really.
here. He's not winning football. That's a tough start. That's just tough. That's horrible.
Did we see them on the back end making the wild card?
No.
Hey, I mean,
Look at smoke.
no, but not Brules, but Jonas, you make a great point, dude. Like, they have had a hell of a schedule.
That's horrible starting. Danny's in the locker room like, listen, fellas, we're going to be okay. Meanwhile, everybody is just beaten and battered from the ass kickings from the best teams in the league.
Ooh,
Just gotta get
pass to
the
Kamara for 21 yards.
Shut up. Stop.
That'll hit my over.
Yep. Well, guys, I
Hate
think
him.
that wraps us up for the week. Unless any of you guys have anything you want to say before we get off, for me, good luck to all of y'all and your matchups.
Appreciate you all joining.
Yep, thank y'all for joining. I think that this makes the podcast that much more fun and interactive. So we definitely appreciate y'all being on the show. And
Jonas, where are you at? I don't know where you were. It was nothing but trees surrounding you. I was like, we have lost Jonas to the wilderness after the Danny Dimes
walking through
slander.
All right. Well, I think so. To wrap it up, I'll say this: I think our matchup for the week in our league is going to be Slowman against Brules. I think that's going to be a shootout. It's really just whichever way the wind blows in that one. And then for the NFL matchup of the week, I'm saying Dolphins and Eagles.
Yeah, I agree.
Go
All right,
Birds.
guys.
I'm taking the Dolphins.
Jeff, are you taking Dolphins? Are we going to take matchup of the week? You're all going Dolphins?
Dolphins.
We know where Slowman's going.
Go back to slice them.
I'm going to have to go Eagles as well.
I'm going Dolphins.
I mean, I don't mind. I think it's going to be close. I think both teams easily score, 24 apiece. And then I just think it's one of those games where Philly gets one of those late drives, settles for 3, and that's it.
Expect
That's
30 from Dolphins. Expect 30. He is practice. Not sure if he's playing yet, but he is a full participant at practice.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
That's a good sign then.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
when
really
they get
good
when they get Achan back, and then that backfield's at full strength, it's going to be a wildly deadly team.
I agree.
All right, Jeff, you got anything, man?
Just hoping I can squeak out a win, and hopefully Kamara just does not continue doing what he's doing to me right now.
Yeah, he's catching more passes, unfortunately.
Yep, so we'll see. We're going to try to hang in there. But, yeah, good luck to everybody this week in their matchups. Hopefully it's a fun weekend of football. And hopefully those that need a win get a win.
Exactly.
Enjoyed it.
Yep. Thanks, Connor. Thanks, Brules. Thanks, Jonas. Thank you, my co-host, Mr. Jeff. This wraps up episode 7. Let's see how these games turn out. Appreciate y'all. Have a good night.
Yep. See you guys.